Why does the sister need to go, or why does the mother continue to have to make the bed of the son, and he's 16, 17 years old and he wants to take over the world? He wants to be a big CEO of a major company. Now, he's got dreams, but he can't make his own bed. He doesn't know how to welcome a guest at home. If somebody comes, a father's friend or something, he doesn't know what to say to them. He's like, yeah, I don't know, I'm not sure my advice, He has no idea what to say. Assalamu alaikum, how are you, uncle? Really nice of you to hear. My father, I'll just call him, or I'm not sure, he's not here today, but would you like to come in? They have no sense of that. They don't know how to tighten a screw. Something leaking, they have no idea. They don't know how to pay a bill, because the mum and dad pay their bill. The father pays their bill. I was very distraught to hear of somebody's experience just some days ago. This is a teacher who teaches some religious classes to teenage girls. When I say teenage, I mean upper teenagers, not young teenagers, but upper teenagers, and women, girls who can be married very soon. Within the next few years, they could be married. And what was really interesting is that the majority of those girls in that class were saying that we don't want to get married. So the teacher asked, why don't you want to get married? What's the issue? Why don't you want to get married? Because people, have always historically wanted to be married and settle down. Why don't you want to be married? So most of these girls there, they say, we don't trust men. We don't trust men. What's the issue with men? Why can't you trust men? Oh, they're all liars. They're all deceivers. I don't know how, I'm in front of men now, I don't know how you feel about that, right? If that's a representation, a correct representation, or do you feel affronted by that? Do you feel bad about that? Or do you think that's a true reflection and that is a reality? So they prodded a bit more, they asked a few more questions. What is the issue? Said they're all liars. And as this person is telling me this, they're explaining to me a few things about this. They said that some of the girls were saying, we're not going to marry anybody who's online, who's on social media. So then this teacher asked them, aren't you on social media? Yes, I am on social media, but I'm going to get off. I'm going to delete my profile very soon, meaning I'm going to delete my profile. Now there's a lot of things that are built into this. And I think what they were talking about is toxic masculinity. That's what they were complaining about. That men, we can't trust them, they're liars. There's a lot of cultural baggage that comes through. They don't know how to treat women. There's a lot of that discussion that's going on. So when I was being told this, I was shocked that you've got the majority of a single class saying that. That then reminded me that there's somebody who's telling me that he's got within 5 or 6 houses around his house where he lives, there are 3 women who are over 40 years old and they're not married yet. So this is quite a big idea. This is quite an issue that people don't want to get married. I asked a class of men just yesterday or the day before. I said, how do you guys feel? They all wanted to get married. So it seems like men want to get married, but the girls don't want to get married. And we're not saying this is across the board everywhere, but for one whole class to say this and then other people to agree with this idea, it is very disconcerting. Very, very worrying, because what's going to happen? You guys will not have any women to marry, right? If that trend carries on. But what can we do about it? And what is the real reason? My question to this teacher was, how can these girls say this? How can they say this? Because I've had many phone calls, consultations. Once an individual called me and he says, I don't want to get married. A man said, I don't want to get married. I said, why don't you want to get married? Eventually I discovered that the reason he doesn't want to get married is he's seen his parents' life, their interaction, their conflicts, their problems, their animosity going at one another's throats. I happened to be with 10 other people that day. It was an invitation I was at. So I said to him that, look, you called me at this point in time, I've taken your call, and I'm just going to mention to you that the way you're thinking is very wrong, because you're only going by what you've seen in your immediate family. It doesn't have to be like that. People aren't all like this. And I'll give you an example right now with the 10 people that I am around. So I happened to be with 10 people, and I said, the 10 people here, I didn't design this, I did not arrange this. These are the 10 people, right? Random 10 people here. I can tell you about all of them that one of them is not married. He's been through divorces, he's not married, and he's single right now. Another one of them, out of the 10, he was married first, then he got divorced, no children, got divorced very soon, and then found another wife, and now mashallah he's got 5 or 6 children. So he's completely happy married. And all the other 8, they're completely married with children, mashallah, happy marriages. That's a random collection of 10 people, out of which the majority are happily married, and there's 1 or 2 that have some small problems. I said, look at that rather than just look at what you're looking at. So my question to this teacher who had spoken to these girls is, don't they have anybody in their family that can give them a better idea of what it means to be a man? Give them some assurance and some trust and some satisfaction about what men are supposed to be, regardless of what they see online on social media. Social media usually brings out the worst in everybody, usually, not always, but usually. So why are they judging men according to what they see on social media? She said, no, a lot of them were complaining about their own parents, about their own fathers, about their own brothers. What was the complaint about their fathers and brothers? So one of them complained, my father just beats up my mom all the time. He's been beating her up for the last 20 years. And she hates my father, but they just do these weird things just to carry on living life, but otherwise he just beats her up. And it's almost like she's used to the beating up. So this should be reported to the police. There's no way this is going to end unless some police come into this, unless somebody else intervenes. That is really, really messed up. That is really, really messed up. Then I asked a number of other people. I was shocked by this, something needs to happen, because as the Muslim leaders and imams, we need to worry about the community. That if girls don't want to get married anymore, we have to find this, because what? We're going to have zina then. We already have zina. We're going to have zina. We're going to have fornication going on, because humans have needs. You don't want to do it the proper way, you're going to do it the haram way. So it doesn't bode well at all for our community. So then I said, what is the reason? So there's multiple reasons. We're not saying girls are not to blame at all. There is definitely a feminist agenda out there which has convinced a lot of women that men are basically expendable. You don't need men. And there is that. That's an extreme though. That is an extreme. I don't think I wouldn't say that the majority of Muslim women have brought full sail into that narrative, that they just hate men for that reason. But there must be a contribution of that, no doubt about that. But we have to say that there are issues. So for example, there's a lot of favoritism when it comes in our families. The girls are expected to do a lot more at home than boys are expected to. Now look, traditionally girls didn't used to study. They used to do homework, housework. Men used to be forced to go out and work in the fields and go and bring an income in from, when they left school, if they even went to school. Young boys even, not talking about, I'm not promoting child labor here, but that's the way it used to be. Girls knew what they had to do. They were going to have children. They were going to bring up children. They were going to make the food, get together with the local women of the area and sit and make, different things and have a good chat. That was their job. But now women are in university. Many times I go to talk in a university, two-thirds are Muslim women and 1/3 are Muslim men. So now they're going to university. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is a different subject. They're going there. The parents want them to go there. They want them to get a good job. But then when it comes to exam times, the boys, they get to do no work. Forget about exam times. In other times, the girls still have to do a lot of the homework. Not saying that they shouldn't do or nobody should do. When I discuss and teach regarding the tarbiyah of children, bringing up children, I speak about that particular age when they're close to marriage and they're upper teens. My encouragement is that we need to teach our children, especially our boys as well as our girls. So while girls need to know how to cook and iron and clean, all the rest of it, boys should know how to make their bed as well. Why does the sister need to go or why does the mother continue to have to make the bed of the son, and he's 16, 17 years old and he wants to take over the world? He wants to be a big CEO of a major company. Now, he's got dreams, but he can't make his own bed. He doesn't know how to welcome a guest at home. If somebody comes, a father's friend or something, he doesn't know what to say to them. He's like, yeah, I don't know, I'm not sure my advice, He has no idea what to say. Assalamu alaikum, how are you, uncle? Really nice of you to hear. My father, I'll just call him, or I'm not sure, he's not here today, but would you like to come in? They have no sense of that. They don't know how to tighten a screw. Something leaking, they have no idea. They don't know how to pay a bill, because the mum and dad pay their bill. The father pays their bill. They don't know how to do shopping. You give them a list and they'll go shopping, they'll pick up the first brand they see, whether it's the most expensive brand or whichever brand. They have no idea, because we don't teach them that. People aren't teaching their sons. They think they just have to make money as long as they're doing good at school. If that's something that people worry about, that's cool, that's enough. So this kind of mollycoddling behavior, right, to boys or girls is bad. But then if you're doing it just for the boys and not for the girls, then that's even worse, because that's seen as discrimination. Subhanallah, what do I tell you? Somebody just yesterday, while I was mentioning this, he brought up the idea. He said, in the local community in London, I think it was, he said that somebody was, parents brought their daughter to the imam or the scholar and said that she wants to change her gender. A Muslim girl wants to change her gender to become a male. So he asked her, what's the reason? He got, what is the reason? Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel confused about all of this? And why are you considering changing your gender? Allahu Akbar. You know what she said completely ties in with what we're talking about today. She said, because my brother gets better treatment at home than I do. My brother gets better treatment at home than I do. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Subhanallah. So because of that, she wants to become a boy so she can get better treatment. And a lot of this is cultural, bad culture. I love culture. Nobody can be without culture. Remember that. Life doesn't exist without culture. Now, if you're from a Pakistani culture, Bangladeshi, Somali, Indian culture, and you don't like that culture, you're going to have to pick another culture. That's what you're going to have to do. But you can't say, I don't have a culture, because culture is us. All right? You might have a confused culture of multiple things together, but everybody has a culture. Culture is whatever you do, the way you do things, what you like to dress as, what you like to eat as. That's just going to be a new, unique culture. That's all it's going to be. But you can't divorce culture. But what we must do is get rid of bad culture, bad aspects of our culture, because alhamdulillah, all Muslim cultures from different countries, which are varied, have very good ideas, very good points that come from Islam. But then nearly all of them have some bad elements, have some very bad elements, like treating their sons better than their daughters. For example, forcing their daughters to get married to their cousins, and they don't want to do that, or the cousin is not a good guy, but because you've promised from their birth or 20 years ago, you have to do it, or your biradari will complain, or you'll be, have to listen from people. All of this kind of weird culture. People leave their faith because of this, because they're forced to marry somebody that has no compatibility. Now remember one thing, if you've come into this country from another culture, as the majority of us, meaning somewhere, have come from somewhere, then there's going to be a difference in the culture. The original culture can just never be maintained 100%. In fact, the culture of whichever country can't be even maintained even in those countries anymore because of globalization. We change, things happen, things are different now. Just have to understand, what do you want? What do I want? And we need to, subhanAllah, I felt so sorry for these girls that they had nobody in their families even to reflect on and say, no, at least my brother's a good guy, my father's a good guy. I don't have to worry about, I'm going to find somebody like my brother or father. If you're a guy and your sister can say that, I would love to have a husband like you in terms of behavior and character and akhlaq, then you're successful. But it's our parents' responsibility to try to bring up our children that way. And again, I'm not saying that women are not to blame at all or whatever, or there's not some misunderstanding there. All of that, taking all of that into consideration, it is a very concerning. Because what we have now is that girls and boys don't want to get married until they're much older. They just quit putting it off because they want to do other things, and there's a number of other issues that we don't want to get into right now. So we pray that while we need to consider all of these things and try to make that change, sort our own personal relationships out with our spouses. Go get some counseling, make some dua, think of it in a different way. 20 years of fighting doesn't have to continue to 30 years. It can change. Aus and Khazraj, they came together and became brothers after 70 years of fighting. You don't have to do that. And if we're just worried about our own businesses and our own careers and not focusing on our children like that, that's another issue. Are we contributing to this? Allah Ta'ala protect us from that. Allah protect us from that. Allah give us sound insight, sound understanding, sound tarbiyah of our children so that we can have healthy communities. Then we can be better people. We can then help other people better as well. Otherwise we're weak.